You are being robbed in real time, every single day. While you grind for paychecks that disappear in 48 hours, billionaires added $2.3 trillion to their net worth since 2020. Meanwhile, over 60% of Americans are now living paycheck to paycheck, including households making over $100,000 a year. The cost of car insurance is up 41% since last year. Childcare is pushing $18,000 a year, and rent for a basic apartment now takes half your monthly income. You're not behind, you're being buried. On purpose. Because here's the truth, they'll never say on CNBC, this economy isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed, to drain you dry while feeding the top 0.1%. They told you to get a job, go to school, follow the rules, and now you can't afford gas, groceries, or a cavity filling. This isn't a recession, this is organized economic warfare, and if you still think this ends well, you haven't been paying attention. You work full-time and still can't afford to exist. There was a time, not long ago, when working a full-time job meant you could pay your bills, have weekends off, and maybe even take a little vacation with your kids. That version of America? It's gone. Vanished like a dollar menu at McDonald's. Today, millions of Americans work full-time, sometimes even 2 jobs, and they're still falling behind every month. According to a 2024 report by the Brookings Institution, nearly 53 million people, that's 1 in every 6 Americans, are part of the working poor, meaning they have jobs but can't afford basic living expenses. We're talking rent, food, transportation, childcare, forget savings or emergencies. People are showing up to work every day just to barely scrape by. You can work 40, 50, even 60 hours a week, and still be choosing between gas in your tank or groceries for your kids. And no, these aren't teenagers flipping burgers. These are people with degrees, licenses, credentials, experience. We've created a system where your paycheck is like a cruel joke. It shows up, and then it's gone before you even look at it. And the corporations? They'll just say, we gave you a 3% raise this year, while inflation hits 8%. You're losing money every year, and they're calling it a win. Meanwhile, CEO compensation has risen over 1,200% since 1978. They're flying private, and you can't afford ground beef. And don't get me started on those budgeting apps. Every time you open them, they basically scream, you're broke and it's your fault. But it's not. It's the cost of being alive in America in 2025. You're not lazy. The system is just rigged against workers in every way possible. And that's what's so dangerous. When you take a population that does everything right and still gets punished, they eventually snap. And we're starting to see that. 9. The credit score is America's social caste system. Here's the dirty secret no one wants to admit. Your credit score is the most powerful number in your life, more powerful than your GPA, your income, even your criminal record. In fact, your credit score in America controls whether you can rent an apartment, buy a car, access healthcare financing, or even get a job. That's right. 1 in 4 employers now pulls your credit report before hiring you. And if it's under 700, they might not call you back. So forget second chances. In this country, a missed payment from 5 years ago will follow you like a criminal record you can't erase. And that's where it gets even more dystopian. The average American now has over $6,000 in credit card debt, and that's per card, not per household. APRs are hovering around 21–30% for many consumers, even though the banks are borrowing from the Fed at less than 6%. They're bleeding us out slowly. And when you fall behind, they'll tack on fees, ruin your credit, and then deny you access to affordable housing. So what do people do? They borrow more. They use buy now, pay later for groceries. They finance emergency room visits. They take out payday loans just to survive. We have fully normalized indentured servitude through a number between 300 and 850. And don't think for a second this system wasn't designed this way. Poor credit means higher interest. Higher interest means more profits for the banks. It's modern-day serfdom. Your net worth might be negative, but to Experian and TransUnion, you're just a data point, one that they'll sell to lenders and landlords who will decide your fate with a click. That's not financial freedom. That's financial surveillance. And once your credit drops, it's like falling into a well. Climb out? Not without a ladder made of cash, which is exactly what you don't have. 8. Fast food has turned into fine dining. Remember when McDonald's was the place you could take your family of 4 and walk away with change from a 20? That memory belongs in a museum. Because fast food today in 2025 has become a luxury item. One recent viral receipt showed a McDonald's order of 2 burgers, a 10-piece nugget, and fries totaling over $26. And it's not a fluke. Inflation in the restaurant industry has risen over 33% since 2019, and fast food joints are leading the charge. Why? Because they can. Because we're too tired and overworked to cook every meal. Because they've got you with convenience. And now a family meal at Chick-fil-A can cost $50 or more. That's not dinner. That's an investment decision. Meanwhile, the quality is going down. Smaller portions, higher prices, fewer employees, and now they expect you to order on a touchscreen, wait longer, bus your own table, and tip 20%. They're charging more and giving less, and we're accepting it because it's fast. But here's the kicker. McDonald's CEO makes over $20 million a year. The average worker? Still under $14 an hour nationally. Some franchises are paying $9. Meanwhile, they roll out $18 Big Macs in Connecticut like it's a premium dining experience. This is supposed to be affordable food for working families. Instead, it's become an overpriced trap. And you know what's coming next? Dynamic pricing. That's right, your McDouble will cost more during lunch rush, just like an Uber ride. This isn't fast food anymore. It's financial extortion with a drive-through window. And no one's stopping it. 7. You can't afford to get sick anymore. You want to know what real fear looks like? It's not ghosts or war or the apocalypse. It's opening your mailbox and seeing a hospital bill. In the United States, even a mild medical emergency is a financial time bomb. One CT scan, one ambulance ride, one ER visit for a kid with a high fever. That's all it takes to send a middle-class family into bankruptcy. According to a 2023 Gallup poll, over 40% of Americans are skipping medical care due to cost, not because they're lazy, not because they're reckless, because they literally cannot afford it. The average deductible on employer-sponsored health insurance is now over $1,800 for individuals and nearly $4,400 for families. That's before anything kicks in. And if you're self-employed, good luck. You might be paying $900 a month for a plan that covers almost nothing until you hit $10,000 out of pocket, and that's if you're insured. Over 25 million Americans are still uninsured, and tens of millions more are underinsured, meaning they have insurance but can't afford to use it. Meanwhile, Big Pharma keeps jacking up prices. Insulin costs $300 a vial, inhalers $500, EpiPens $600. In other developed countries, these things cost pennies. But in America, they'll charge you rent just to keep breathing. 1 in 5 Americans now carries medical debt, and that's reported debt. The real number is likely much higher. You can go bankrupt from a broken arm. You can die waiting for insurance authorization. This is what a failed healthcare system looks like, and nobody in Washington is even pretending to fix it anymore. Why would they? Congress gets government healthcare. You get a GoFundMe. 6. The American dream is now a foreign concept. Let's not sugarcoat this. The American dream is on life support, and for most people, it's already dead. Home ownership used to be the crown jewel of that dream. A house, a yard, maybe a grill, a sense of permanence. But in 2025, you need a 6-figure income, a 760 credit score, and zero debt to even be considered for a starter home in most cities. The median home price in the U.S. is now over $420,000. And in places like Austin, Denver, and Charlotte, it's much worse. And even if you manage to find a home, your mortgage won't be under $2,500 a month unless you're living in a flood zone, next to a train track, or in a town where the only grocery store is a Dollar General. And don't forget insurance, and taxes, and repairs, and rising interest rates, and HOA fees. And by the way, corporate investors bought 28% of all single-family homes sold last year. You're not competing with other families anymore. You're competing with BlackRock and hedge funds. They're turning neighborhoods into rental factories. That's why one-bedroom apartments now cost more than mortgages used to. The dream has shifted from owning to renting, from building equity to just surviving. We tell young people to go to college, but when they graduate, they're $100K in debt and still can't afford rent. So they move back home, stuck in a loop of DoorDash jobs, overpriced coffee, and the crushing realization that everything they were promised was a lie. And the government? They'll post a meme saying, "Just budget better." But no budget can beat a system that was designed to keep you out. We didn't lose the American dream. It was stolen, bought by Wall Street, and turned into a subscription service that costs more every year. 5. Retirement is a lie for most Americans. We were all told the same story. Work hard, save up, retire by 65, and then finally you get to breathe. Travel a little, maybe move somewhere warm. Enjoy those golden years. But here's the truth in 2025. Retirement is a fairy tale. It's a mirage in the distance that vanishes the closer you get to it. The average retirement savings for Americans between 55 and 64? Just $144,000, according to Vanguard. That's not even enough to survive 3 years if you're frugal. But the cost of living? That's not slowing down. A 2024 report from Fidelity says that a retired couple needs over $315,000 just to cover healthcare expenses. Not food, not housing, not even recreation. Just to see a doctor. And even that number is conservative. Meanwhile, Social Security is on track to be insolvent by 2033. That means in less than a decade, the government will be forced to either slash benefits or raise taxes, both of which screw over retirees. And here's the kicker. Boomers. Yes, the generation we all assume is rich, now make up the fastest-growing demographic of the homeless population. Seniors in their 70s are sleeping in cars, picking up gig work and lining up at food banks because their retirement accounts got obliterated by inflation, market volatility, and medical debt. And Gen X? They're worse off. Many have zero savings and aging parents to care for. And millennials? We joke about never retiring, but it's not funny when you're 42 and your entire 401k is worth less than a used Honda. The system was designed in an era where people died at 68. Now they live into their 90s, and the money just isn't there. So the new retirement plan? Work until you die. And if you can't? Good luck. Because there is no safety net. Just a long fall and the sound of everyone else pretending it's fine. 4. American infrastructure is held together with duct tape. You want to know how fragile this country really is? Take a look beneath your feet. Because America's infrastructure, the roads, bridges, power grids, water lines, transit systems, is not just outdated, it's collapsing. Literally, the American Society of Civil Engineers gives our infrastructure a C-BAT. That's generous. Over 46,000 bridges in this country are considered structurally deficient, many built in the 1950s and never updated. In cities like Pittsburgh and Minneapolis, commuters cross decaying steel coffins every single day. A bridge collapsed in Pennsylvania last year, injuring 10 people. But you didn't hear about it, because this is just normal now. Meanwhile, our power grid? Laughable. In Texas, a little ice in 2021 killed over 200 people because the grid couldn't handle the weather. In California, it's fire season every year because of poor grid maintenance. And in Mississippi, in Jackson, 150,000 residents were without clean water for weeks in 2022. Pipes built in 1910 finally gave out, and no one had a backup plan. We are a first-world country with a third-world backbone. Our rail system? Embarrassing. Europe has 180 miles per hour trains. Japan has trains that run on magnets. America has trains that derail and spill toxic chemicals into rivers. And then there's the water situation. Flint is not unique. There are over 2,000 water systems in this country with dangerous lead levels, according to the EPA. You could be drinking poison right now and not even know it. And guess what? All that infrastructure money we hear about in the news? It's either delayed, rerouted, or absorbed by bloated contractors who prioritize luxury condos over fixing a broken dam. We spend more money on military bases overseas than we do on our own collapsing highways. America doesn't feel like the richest country in the world. It feels like a crumbling empire with a fresh coat of paint, and the cracks are spreading fast. 3. The job market is one giant illusion. Every politician loves to shout the same thing. Unemployment is low, but what they never tell you is that the jobs people are taking don't pay enough to survive. The reality in 2025 is that most jobs in America are part-time, underpaid, overworked, or completely misclassified. The Bureau of Labor Statistics might report a 3.9% unemployment rate, but that doesn't include the 5 million people who've just stopped looking, the 11 million who are working multiple jobs, or the tens of millions doing gig work with no health care, no benefits, and no future. You want the real number? According to the Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity, true functional unemployment, the percentage of people who want full-time work and can't find it, is closer to 24%. 1 in 4 working-age Americans can't get a decent job. But that doesn't show up on TV, because what we've created is a job market that runs on smoke and mirrors. Full-time jobs with pensions, promotions, and long-term security? Almost extinct. replaced by flexible freelance roles that pay you per task, treat you like a vendor, and cut you loose at the first sign of a slowdown. Even highly skilled professionals, software developers, nurses, accountants, are being laid off in waves, tens of thousands every month. And the worst part? Most job postings are fake. A 2024 Resume Builder survey found that over 68% of hiring managers admit to posting phantom jobs just to make the company look good or build a resume database. So you spend hours applying, writing cover letters, going through 5 rounds of interviews, all for a job that never existed. And when you finally land something, congratulations, here's your 1099, your $17/hour wage, and your 6-month contract. No PTO, no retirement, and if you get sick, you're on your own. This isn't a labor market, it's a roulette table, and the house always wins. 2. Everything is a subscription now, even your survival. We used to buy things, own them, use them until they wore out. But not anymore. Now every part of your life is being chopped up, monetized, and rented back to you on a monthly basis. In 2025, the average American has 12 paid subscriptions, and that doesn't include utilities, insurance, or rent. We're talking grocery delivery, music, streaming, software, cloud storage, gym apps, even car features. Yes, BMW now charges $18 a month for heated seats in some models. Tesla will lock you out of features you already paid for if you resell your car. John Deere tractors have software that prevents farmers from repairing their own equipment unless they pay for a diagnostics license. You think you own something, but the fine print says otherwise. And it's not just gadgets. Grocery chains like Kroger and Walmart now push membership-only discounts, trapping you into monthly fees just to save a few dollars on milk. And that's the trick. Death by 1,000 cuts. $9.99 here, $12.99 there, $29.99 for essential internet speed. Suddenly your checking account bleeds out $400 a month for services you barely remember signing up for. Want to cancel? Good luck. They'll bury the unsubscribe button deeper than the Mariana Trench. This isn't convenience, it's capture. You can't escape it. Try living without a smartphone, a streaming service, or a cloud backup, and see how fast the world shuts you out. Subscription culture isn't about products. It's about turning citizens into revenue streams. Forever. Because ownership is power, and the people in charge decided you don't deserve either. 1. We are too numb to revolt. And that's the plan. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud. The scariest part. We know things are bad. Most people feel it in their bones. They see their wages getting eaten alive by rent, their health disappearing under stress, their dreams shrinking to just getting by. And yet, nothing changes. Why? Because we are exhausted. Because we are overstimulated. Because we are divided, distracted, and desperate to believe the next paycheck will make it better. And that's exactly how they want it. The system isn't broken. It's running perfectly for the people who designed it. Corporations spend billions on advertising, social media, and algorithms that train you to consume instead of rebel. Politicians keep you distracted with culture wars and partisan nonsense while the cost of everything quietly explodes. You scroll, you doom watch, you get angry, and then you go back to work. And by the time you have a second to breathe, it's 10 p.m., and you're too tired to do anything but collapse on the couch. Meanwhile, the wealth gap has widened to historic extremes. In 2024, the top 1% of Americans owned 31.4% of all household wealth, more than the bottom 90% combined. That's not a glitch. That's a design. And when people start to push back, they'll tell you to work harder, to budget better, to pull yourself up. But here's the truth. This economy was never built to lift everyone up. It was built to sort you into winners and losers, then make the losers blame each other. Red versus blue. Worker versus immigrant. Rural versus urban. All while the billionaires laugh from their yachts. We are not lazy. We are not broken. We are being crushed slowly, deliberately, and with a smile. And if we don't wake up soon, we won't just lose our money. We'll lose our future, our freedom, and the very idea of what it meant to be American.